Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. I am Becky Sampson, your host for today, and I am really excited about this. I'm always excited about all my guests, to be honest with you, because I usually bring people onto the show that I've done networking with and that I've spent time really getting to know them. And I want to tell you that the gal that's coming on the show today is somebody that we met in a networking event, just an online networking event. And she was sharing some things, and I could tell that she is someone who is very heart-centered. And so I invited her to come on the show, and it's going to be amazing, especially if you have children, if you also are dealing with high conflict. So Laura Lorber, JD, is an MC3 certified mediator specializing in high conflict co-parenting. She uses her expertise in early childhood education to help parents let go of their partner in conflict and focus in on their children and themselves. So I want to go ahead and welcome Laura to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction.
Yeah.
I'm heart-centered.
I know, heart-centered. I just, people don't realize, and this is really a big message that I would love to share with people, is that just because you're going through a high conflict divorce or even a high conflict situation in your family or in your life doesn't mean you have to lose your heart, right? And harden your heart. So hopefully we can talk about that, and you can give us some skills of how to navigate through that. So first of all, tell everybody I know you're happily married. You just told me that. But can you tell me what got you into this industry and what's your background to the point now that you're doing all these amazing mediations and helping families navigate through that most difficult time of their life?
Thank you. What a great start. So I like to say that I mediated, and then I took a break to start to raise my family and mediating again. Mm-hmm. So I came out, I went to law school, bizarrely enough, to further my environmental work. And I knew I didn't want to be an attorney. I didn't know how I was going to use it. And so my law school identified for me, they nominated me to do these silly but necessary parking ticket appeals.
Really?
Yeah, that was my first introduction to any sort of alternative dispute resolution. And
oh my goodness,
I said, this is what I want to do. But I was doing environmental stuff. That's a little placard behind me, was the Environmental Clinic Student of the Year, my graduating year. And I came out of law school doing environmental conflict resolution. I adored it. Unfortunately, that was 2008. And
when there was a huge conflict.
there was no money. And people are like, I love your work. It's great, but we have no money. We have no money for what we do, let alone something as esoteric as trying to bring down conflict. So I tried for a couple of years, and it just wasn't going to happen. So at that point, I just had a new baby girl, and I said, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll focus on this amazing part of my life. And then she went to preschool, and my mind was just blown. I was like, this is the most amazing experience I've ever seen. And now
what was amazing about it? Was it just because she was growing so much, or what? Tell us about that.
So now that I've met a few of us preschool teacher turned mediators, I'm understanding that what it is that we love to facilitate personal growth. And that preschool model of teaching, of really getting in touch with this tiny little human, understanding like, we're not teaching you to read, we're not teaching you to write. What we're really doing is looking at you and understanding, okay, this is where you are. I know you get here, and I know you have these interests. And so how am I going to combine this and scaffold your learning to get you to where the next step you need in your development? Which is exactly what we do in mediation.
Yeah, and people don't realize that mediation really is a journey. You start off in two different points, and you're working, because I'm also a trained mediator, although I don't do it like you. I'm definitely not an expert at at that, but it is a journey of dealing with two people. And I love that you're applying it to the children, right?
Yeah. So I did that, and then I knew one day I wanted to come back to mediation. I didn't know how to do it, but then I did this program through the state of California called the Program for Infant Toddler, PITC. And the very last unit was on conflict within families and cultures.
So that was like a ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Okay. This is what I was meant to do. And I realized also that, and we're going to talk a lot about my journey and my learning about temperament today, but I also realized that what really I loved about preschool was I was an infant toddler teacher. So I was the first person helping these new parents balance work-life balance and all of this stuff. I realized that's what I loved about it more than working with the kids, was working with the kids. So that's my long journey.
So that's your long journey. And really so are you still a licensed attorney? Or are you?
I have never been a licensed attorney. I really did not ever want to practice law. I didn't want to be an advocate. It's very different from what I want to do. Although I talk to somebody else and they're like, well, you are an advocate. You're just an advocate for every single person in that mediation.
Right.
An advocate for one person.
Yeah. And I, as reading through your stuff too, you're passionate about the co-parenting high conflict. That's kind of the area that you specialize in. What made you, now do you work with people, or how do you find your clients, I should say? Like, how do they find you, I should say? Is it divorce mainly, or is it after divorce, before they're starting a divorce? Like what?
Yeah. So I work with parents at every step of the journey. So sometimes parents come to me and they realize that what is leading them to divorce is the parenting itself. So we say, okay, let's try it. If we can get you guys on the same page with parenting, then maybe you don't have to divorce. But if you do, it's not a failing.
Yeah.
But parenting is going to get even harder. So let's take a pause here and see if we can do it. Sometimes if I do divorce, I always partner with somebody who's very good at the finances and all of the detailed work, because that's not my focus. And the people that I work with, they say, ew, you deal with emotions and parenting and all that stuff. I can't handle that. So that is what I focus on. So anyways, so if we do the divorce, a lot of times I will help the parents, structure the conversation with the kids about letting them know what's happening and working from there. And then the majority of my private play clients are people who have been co-parenting for a while, and their kids are growing up and the dynamic is changing and they just need some help.
Yeah, they need some guidance.
Yeah.
Navigating that next step. I know. So one of the things that you, one of the things that I think is important to talk about is boundaries. Like from the very beginning, when they're first starting divorce, all the way through even being after divorce. How do you help people set up those healthy boundaries around that communication, especially when they're dealing with very toxic, high conflict situations?
I'll have to say I'm the world's biggest fan of Bill Eddy and his BIFF model for written communications. I'm also the world's biggest fan of OurFamilyWizard. I spend a lot of time with doing their trainings, and when they release new things, I'm immediately calling them up and saying, so I'll slow down. So
tell us what the BIFF is. And then I actually met one of the gals that works for the other company, and I don't know a lot about it, but I heard it was a really powerful app. So go back to the BIFF. What's that?
So BIFF is brief, informative, friendly, and I think I want to say formal. It's a four-part response to written communication. And the reason, and I'll tell you why I brought up the two together. But basically what BIFF is designed to do is for that's what Bill Eddy does. His research is purely on high conflict people. And so for those people that write those nasty, blaming, horrible emails that have nothing to do with the kid and everything they're doing to either privately or publicly shame you, that's what the BIFF style is for. And it's meant to just hone in on what is the ask, what is the information that the person needs from you, and only answer that and answer it in such a way that you are the one that's taking the higher road. And so if it becomes public, if they're looking for something to attack you about further, they're not going to find it.
Yeah, you're not giving them any ammo, right? Like, so that's kind of an interesting thing. And so the BIFF ends up having to like just ground them before they respond. I mean, they're responding, not reacting. It's a tool that you use.
Exactly. And I love the F for friendly. Like, what? I don't want to be friendly.
Yeah.
But it is the secret sauce. I'm not saying like, oh, I don't know. I'm not saying be like their best friend. What I'm saying is make sure that you start with, thank you for providing the information.
Yeah.
Hope you have a good weekend. It is just that little extra tweak that I think for you restores your humanity, and for them it just changes the dynamic slowly by slowly.
How hard do you think is that challenging? I should say, maybe that's how challenging is it for somebody that really has dealt with a high conflict, maybe their whole marriage, right? And to then redirect them to using these tools and then seeing the benefits of it. Like, what's that process for people?
There's two parts of that. The first is learning how to use it. And Bill Eddy says it in his books, and I firmly agree with this. Like, get a partner.
I love that too.
Yeah. So have somebody read through it. These days we have AI. You say like, hey, can you help me?
Yeah.
But, whether it's a person that is going through the same thing, whether it's a trusted friend that's not going to get invested, you got to be really careful. You don't want to get somebody who's going to get invested and get more angry with you.
I do talk about that in my podcast. Like, I've talked about that before, because I know when I was going through my first divorce, he would send me emails, and I made a rule to talk about boundaries, right? I made a rule that I never opened up and read an email unless I had my girlfriend on the phone, and I only read it once. Beautiful. So she helped me dissect what was true, what wasn't true, what's manipulation, because I was still very much in it. So I had a hard time seeing, but I like that. It was just like, open it once, read it once to her, and then close it.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting? I love every time you talk, I'm like, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about that. But I do want to talk about is there is the 72-hour of cortisol it's triggered. So from the time you open that nasty, evil email until you can deal with it and it just get that stress out of your system is 72 hours, 3 days.
The power of the pause.
Right? Yes. So whether it is, some people like your method of pick it up once, deal with it, get it done, get it out of your hair. Yeah. Other people say, my style is more like, okay, I see it. I'm going to schedule a time for me to open it. I'm going to give myself, 1 full day before I have to think to respond to it. And then that's when I'm going to work with my person or my AI to respond to it. And for people who have those court orders, like, oh, you have to respond within. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to respond. I see your email. I will reply to it by this time on this day.
110. Yay. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And communication is so vitally important. I like that you bring that up, because any communication will keep the doors open. When we stop communicating, all kinds of crazy stories go on both sides of what they think is happening or what's not happening. So I love that you bring that up.
with high conflict co-parenting where you've shut down communication, and now what you're dealing with is the stories in your own head and the stories in their own head about what's happening, and you're not dealing with reality anymore. I like to tell the story of a mom and dad that I was working with. The question was, is dad going to be in the doctor's office at this meeting? And so mom could not get him to answer. And so I said, just hold on a second. I put her, we're on Zoom. I put her in the waiting room. I called up dad and I said, are you planning to be in the room? And he starts going on and on and on about, she can go. I'm not limiting her. I will make sure the kid is there. And I said, no, that's not the question. The question is, are you gonna be in the room? So, I won't stop the meeting from happening. I'll make sure my daughter's there. And that is not the question. And the third time he finally heard me. He got real quiet. And he said, no, I don't want to be in the room. And I said, okay, that's all. That's all we needed to know. But,
yeah. How do you, I mean, first of all, it was funny. I was talking to somebody today just about divorce is just a heavy space. Like, how do you personally, I mean, this is a really personal question, but how do you personally, dealing with all this conflict and trying to hold that space for them? How do you hold that space for you so that you can show up in that really powerful place for couples and for families?
That's a really important question. I do some different things. The number one thing is mindfulness and meditation. So what I've learned through that is so if you're not a practitioner of mindfulness, if you don't know what it is, I know it's one of these buzzwords, but basically what it is it's put the power of the pause. That's what it is. It is slowing yourself down so that you can choose how to react. So, for example, I'm working on a very contentious case right now, and it's really rough because can't have a single conversation without either of the parties just exploding.
Yeah.
And they don't want to write about it at all. They just want to come into mediation and explode all over each other. And so, I said, okay, slow down, Laura. They don't want to do this. So what can you do? And so I sat down and I journaled out, okay, this is how we're going to handle it and all this stuff. And I said, okay, now I don't have to worry about it. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I can put it away. The other thing I'm starting to realize for myself, I'm not a big exercise person, but my dog does drag me out 2 or 3 times a day for walks. And I'm realizing, I need a physical outlet.
Yeah. Somebody else mentioned that exact same thing to me yesterday too. He's like, you know what? I go for 45-minute walks with my dog, and it doesn't seem like that's my exercise, but he says that's really my downtime. Like
it's not even enough for me anymore.
Yeah.
Now we got to start running. I got to start running with my dog.
Well, they know how to pull you, but I like that you said that exercise, because when I was going through my second divorce, I lived in Hawaii, and so I spent a lot of time walking on the beach, and just getting out in the fresh air,
right,
and being able to decompress with all. I mean, anybody in a high conflict is. I mean, I don't know about the brain chemistry, but I know you're in like all the time. And sometimes you can't sleep at night. You get woken up in the morning going, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor, because you're thinking of all the things that you should say. And so it is really important that you move your body.
Yeah. I often tell people, if you find yourself in that situation, sit down and write yourself BIFFs.
Write myself what?
Write yourself a BIFF.
Oh, a BIFF. Yes.
A BIFFs. If I say this, they're going to say that. Okay, well then, what's your BIFF? If they're gonna throw this at me, what's your BIFF? And then, when you're calming yourself, so you can go back to sleep, and then the next time, and they do throw that in your face, you just pull it up, and you're like, oh, I'm ready for that.
Right.
Let me stop and read to you my answer. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And the other thing that you had with the BIFF was, what was the second thing? You had the BIFF and
This is OurFamilyWizard.
oh,
So
yeah, talk to people about that, because I don't think people even know that. I mean, I'm sure some people know about that as a resource, but it's an app. So talk about.
yeah. So when I first started hearing about these apps that were, and I think OurFamilyWizard was the first, I gotta be honest. I started hearing about them 25, 30 years ago. I thought they were a joke. I thought it was the stupidest thing. I thought, oh, somebody's just trying to make money. Now I have drunk the Kool-Aid. I am a true believer. Because again, when you're working with super high conflict people, it goes back to that thing. All I want from you is yes or no. That's all I want from you. And if you're going to go off on me, I want other people to know about it. It's not me. It's not he said, she said. And this is what these apps do. So for example, for OurFamilyWizard, everything is recorded. Everything is public record.
Which is very important to document everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where, and people, then you get the resistance. She won't answer me. He won't use the app. She doesn't know how to use it. And so what I say is you got to train them. You know, they text you, only answer them in the app. Don't get past that. You know.
So said that could be one boundary that you have, right? Just for yourself, to protect yourself and to protect the interest of your children, because it's all documented. You can't argue. Yeah.
You can't argue. It's all documented. Again, if you need to protect yourself by not getting constant text messages, not getting emails, then you say to the app, only tell me once a day. And then
so you can set even further boundaries to protect yourself. Yeah. I love that.
And then you know, for some reason there's a lot of resistance to electronic calendaring. But again, you put in the electronic calendar, there's this thing that's happening on this date, and all they can do is click yes, I will attend, or no, I won't. I need to switch my days. This is happening. Yes, I'll take that time. No, I'm not going to let you. That's all it is. And then some of the other added things, again, with high conflict, if the other person is dangerous and you're afraid of them tracking you, the app will block that. If they're accusing you of not showing up on time or whatever, you just walk in to where the exchange is, you click it, it takes a timestamp and a location stamp, and that is part of record.
Yeah, it's all proof. I honestly believe that that's how I won my case, is documentation. Because I became a master at documenting everything. And that's what courts are needing. They're needing the core facts, not the stories. And I know you get to hear a lot of the stories, because in the mediation, they all want to be heard, right?
Yeah, it's an essential part of mediation. And that's a big difference between mediation and court. Mediation doesn't happen unless you let me in. I do a lot of mediations where people are like, I'm going to be professional and not have emotion. And I'm like, okay, but how do I know that that's what you really need right now?
Yeah.
You know, or they apologize when they get upset. And I'm like, this is real. This is hard. You know, I don't know how to help you if you don't let me in a little bit.
Yeah. And it's a game of trust too. Because I mean, everybody's dealing with a lot of lack of trust and betrayal, especially in a high conflict. And so, but I always say to people, mediation is definitely the first choice to go mediation instead of having to get into the whole lawyer thing. I know one of the things, I'm sorry to shift gear, but I know one of the things that you do and you teach, I want you to talk to them about the temperament charting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Because that's really powerful stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, so this gets back to my preschool days. This is where I learned it, and like we had talked about, my happily married. I think I'm happily married and survived my daughter's childhood because of temperament charting. let me explain this a little bit. So as adults, we have personalities, and those personalities have been influenced by, all sorts of things, how we are, life experiences, all that stuff. That's what we call the nurture part, how the world impacts us. But babies as young as 3 months old have specific temperament traits. And they're things like, how do they react to things? Do they lean in? Do they get excited? Do they smile? Or do they laugh? Do they start with a frown on their face? And are they really serious? Do they keep their focus for a long time? Or are they darting around and looking at everything? These are kind of like fundamental things. I have to say it's in our American culture. There's different temperament traits that work in different cultures. So it's really an American thing here. And so what you want to do, and even though it starts as young as 3 months, you can do it your whole life. It's a really good way to get a clear image of who somebody else is and what their needs are, and who you are and what your needs are, and how these things interact. And that is the power of the temperament charting. So when my daughter was a toddler, oh my God, we fought like nothing. It was horrible. And then here comes my husband, he's the savior, right? And it was bad. It was honestly bad. And so I happened to be studying my infant toddler stuff, and I said, okay. So I charted her, and I'm like, okay, that looks like her. I charted me, and then I compared the two graphs, because that's what you end up with, is two little graphs. I said, I don't get it. We're exactly the same. So why are we fighting? And it took me quite a while to figure out that is why we fight so much.
Right.
It's because she and I we're very focused. We're not easily distracted, and we don't let go of things. In other words, we're very stubborn, and we hold grudges, and we're not going to be the person that backs down.
And that makes for some high conflict.
Right? So what I had to learn was, I had to learn that not to get backed into corners. And when it looked like we're going to get back into corners, I had to bring in my husband, and I had to step back a little bit and let him be the one to deal with it. Because his personality is very different from mine. And I think that's what laid the foundation to start repairing our marriage, frankly.
You mentioned that also before, that you're using these tools in your marriage to stay married.
Right? Yeah. But then what I like to do, so when you first were introducing me, Becky, you said it so well. I'm not going to say it as well, but what I like to say is I like to ground you in your reality, and then help you imagine what's going to come next. And what I do with the temperament charting is we use that information to craft exchange recipes. So for example, for that kid who withdraws, who doesn't like surprises, who needs things to go slowly, like maybe we get an exchange that is very organized and very happens the same way, the same time, the same place. And just you do a just very slow and gentle handoff.
Yeah, to create the system is what creates, it sounds like it creates the system, or the system creates the safety.
Yes.
For him. Yeah.
Safety and then
predictability.
The kid is calmer. The parents are calmer. Because you created the system, everybody is part of the system. Everybody knows why you're using the system. And now we take away this whole window for conflict.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you find that also helps the parents feel more calm about that transition? When the kids know what's coming, they know what's coming. how that's going to work out. And so it calms the whole.
That's one recipe for is
Yeah.
the kid that needs the structure and the kid that needs to be really consistent. Another, every kid is unique, but then you can have a different recipe for a different kid, that kid that can't sit still and who gets hyper and crazy in the moment. Well, you don't want a long drawn out exchange now.
Right.
How you want quick. You need to be more organized than your kid is in this instance, because you need to make sure that backpack is ready to go, and you hand it and you say goodbye and kid goes.
Right.
And,
so that goes back to charting. Isn't that what you're saying? So do you have a very specific way to chart? Like, how do you chart a child and adult?
It's not even mine. Like, I just send you the Head Start. The National Preschool Organization has a beautiful thing. So we go to their website, and I have the parents work together to chart the kids. And then we work separately to chart each parent. And that's where you start realizing, I can let go of this because this is what my parent does better than I do. Oh, when you chart together, sometimes the parent realizes, I didn't know that about my kid.
And they have a different perspective. They both have a different perspective and experience with the children, sounds like.
Yes. So that's where you really want to do the charting of the child together. And then it's personal, right? So you don't want to do this other person that you don't like right now. So we do it separately. And then based on that, we start. And then the other thing I like to do, I love this concept that agreements should be living agreements until the very end. Living agreement is okay. We think this is what is the right answer. We're going to test it out. And if it works, then that becomes the agreement. And if it doesn't work, then let's figure out why it didn't work and try something else.
Yeah. So I'm sure, like you said, there's not an easy, it's not always perfect the first time, or even the third time, 10th time. You have to be open to navigating that and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and adjust. But what happens when you don't have somebody that's going to adjust?
Well, then, that's the whole grounding yourself again.
Yeah.
So, this is my reality. This is what I want to need. This is what this other person is going to allow to happen. What do I let go of? How do I take care of myself so that, because ultimately you want to leave the drama behind.
Right.
So if leaving the drama behind means that it's not going to happen exactly the way you imagined it, okay. But also, again, it's that one of the best tools that I've learned to use is, okay, where does the kid go to school? How far do you live from the school? How long does it take you to drive to the school? Oh, you don't drive. Okay, how do you get there? Oh, your babysitter walks. Oh, well, how far is she from the school? And now this is how it's not about, he's always late or I don't want to do pickup, or this isn't, it's like, okay, this is our real lived experience. So let's get down to what's preventing us, other than the other person, what is preventing us from making this happen?
Yeah, and you probably asked the question too, is what influence, I don't say power because we don't really have power over anybody. However, we can influence them with the way that we talk and the way that we interact with them, like you said at the very beginning of this.
That's the power of the Mediators rules.
Yeah.
Or you can, and I want to make sure we reserve just a couple minutes to talk about my workbook that I'm trying to work out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Last part of that workbook is about helping your mediator understand these things. If you've learned, if there's a certain look that you know what that means and nobody else in the world knows what that means, you got to train your mediator to be aware of that, help them along.
Okay, I have to say, honestly, that is brilliant, because I mean, and a lot of people think, they go into a courtroom. I mean, maybe you probably experienced this too. They go into a courtroom and think that the judge should know everything about their life. And I'm like, no, no, no. They don't know the story other than what you tell them. And what a great way. And you said that's through the workbook that you have for them
That's
to
one
give
of the
you.
parts. Yeah, is again, the third part is about mindfulness, and one of the things I talk about in that section is when you get upset, note it down.
Yeah.
Like, what? Where did you feel it in your body? Where did you go? Do you need to stop the mediation at that moment and just,
Get conscious.
like what's going on right now? And then come back to me and say, okay, this happened and this happened and I don't know what to do. Okay, well, let's try this. Let's try that.
Yeah, well, that's the art of a mediator, right? A good mediator that really knows how to know how far to push and pull and need, right? Because in 1 second you can lose them.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, earlier about how do you take care of yourself. That's what I stress about. It's like, oh, did I keep that person safe, or
Right.
did I do too much and now we're not moving forward? How do I get in the boat with somebody?
Yeah. So kind of an interesting question before we kind of wrap up, and then I'm going to have you talk about this workbook and where people can kind of be involved in the development of it. What is the most rewarding thing for you in being a mediator?
I just love figuring it out. I think that's what it is. It's like, you come to me with this Pandora's box and everybody's upset and nobody knows why. And then we work through it. And I want to say it's not easy. It's not fast. It's not magic. It's, it's going to take time. And that's the biggest gift people give me, is sticking with me when it's hard.
Yeah. And it takes two willing people. That's one of the things with mediation, because some people will say, oh, I'm in high conflict. I'm willing, but they're not, and with a really good mediator like yourself, I mean, you're trained to be able to get to the core base of what the core need is and the emotion that they're feeling. Like we talked a little bit before the show started about emotions, like naming those emotions. You ask the right question to get to that base of what's the absolute need that they're having. Even though they're talking up here, there's an underlying need that needs to be met or listened to or heard. And when they feel heard, it's amazing. I know you've experienced this too. It's amazing what cracks open and the possibilities now that they're like, oh, wow, somebody sees me and feels me and hears me.
Yeah. And a lot of times you're so stuck in the conflict.
Yeah.
You don't know what you need. You don't know what's going on for you. So you really need to
have a professional that knows how to listen.
Yeah.
And feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I could talk all day.
I know. Well, and when I first learned mediation and the techniques, I mean, obviously we were doing it in college, and I was learning all those techniques while I was going through a really high conflict divorce, which was really ironic anyway. I had real world experiences right then, but I remember going to class and it was so awesome to see these two people. I mean, and granted, we were mocking, mock trial type of thing. But to see people just completely on two different sides of the room, bring them slowly, and then something would happen, and then slowly, and get them to a point where it's like, okay, we both feel good about this, right? It's a win-win. And it was so rewarding for me because I'm like, look, this is possible. It is possible to take a high conflict and get to a place of peace, but you have to be intentional and put the right people in place in order to have that happen.
I think that mediated conflicts, whatever, if it's divorce, co-parenting, business, whatever mediation is, it's a team sport.
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to need support outside of it. You may need some education outside of it, especially I love my money people, because I said, that's not my thing. So I would be more than happy to send you to the right person that can help you, figure it out. But you need space. Mediation ultimately is where you're going to negotiate.
100%. And I love that you just brought up the point. The people that are in this space, and I say this all the time, the people who are in the divorce space have a real giving heart to want to be able to help people. And we are very connected to other people that are wanting with different resources. And so, it's important to connect. So I know that you've got this project with this, just kind of wrapping up. Tell us about this resource or this.
So a lot of what we talked about today, what I found is that people want to come into mediation and they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take the time to slow down and do some of this. So I said, okay, fine. Let's create a workbook, and whether you work through it before by yourself, or you work through it with a therapist, or with your mediator. The idea is it's the pre-work before you get to the negotiation phase.
I love it. Yes.
And so
that really makes it so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting as a mediator, right?
Yeah. I would love to, but you know what? It costs money.
I know. It's people don't realize the more you're emotional and all that stuff, whether you're talking to a mediator or whether you're talking to an attorney, it's going to cost you buku bucks.
Right. Yeah.
So I love this idea.
Yeah. So, but I'm super curious. So I wanted it to be, there's not a lot of writing in it. It is mostly, exercises and graphs and just very short stories. You'll find my story about temperament charting, exercises to do temperament charting in there. But the intention is, this is not going to help you create your parenting plan. This is not going to help you, be a better co-parent. It is really, this is the prep work that you need to do before you step into the room to negotiate your parenting plan.
So how does somebody get a hold of you? I know you're really wanting some test groups out there, but how do they get a hold of you to be a part of that?
Please just email me, as simple as it is, at lorberlm@gmail.com.
Okay.
And, put in the subject line focus group. I'm trying to put together 3 focus groups right now, one for my mamas, one for my papas, and one for a co-parenting couple. And I'm just super curious. I think there's power in being with other people and working through it with them. Like, maybe this is what it turns into, is that we create groups and work through it together before you go into your mediation. Maybe it is part of the mediation process, working through this with a parent 1 and parent A together.
Well, and you also bring up a good point is that when you come together as a group, I mean, I've always said, when you come, you realize you're not alone. Like,
so important.
You're definitely not alone in this struggle, whether you're dealing with a co-parenting issue or just high conflict in your divorce. You've got people who understand, and this is what they do every day. And I love the workbook, the idea of the workbook, which is really grounding you before you go to the next step. And it doesn't cost you the money that it would if you had to do all of that live with a mediator, because it can go on for hours.
It can go on. This is hard. I'm not going to kid you. Mediating is hard work, but let me put it this way. You can pay somebody a bunch of money and go, and the purpose of court is to win. And how do you win? By making somebody lose. By doing everything you can to make them look as bad as possible. So then you leave that court case and you're the winner or you're the loser, and you've done no repair to go on with your life.
Right.
Whereas you come into mediation, if you're willing to do that self-work, it's hard. it is hard, but at the end, you can move on.
Yeah.
You've done the work.
Yeah.
Move on, they can move on, and your children have learned that conflict is hard and it's scary, but that you can handle it. That, so many of us, myself included, talk to any mediator, chances are they will tell you they run from conflict in their own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, everybody has conflict. I always say it's happening for you, not to you. I mean, what are you supposed to be learning, and who do you need to become through this conflict? Because I mean, whether you're a mediator or a lawyer or, who knows, you're going to have conflict, but how you choose to deal with it in that moment is really going to be beneficial for your future and your children, right?
Yeah,
both male and female.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, and that's where the again, my preschool mommy comes out. Like, you don't want to leave your child with a legacy of being broken and being
bitter.
You wanna. I was in a webinar last week, and the psychologist, instead of saying a resilient child, she said you want to create a sturdy child. I like that.
Well, that's why it's called Divorcing Strong. Like, I want people to come out of their situation in divorce better, not bitter. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but we really can become strong, both emotionally, physically, financially, and, in a place where we can move forward and move on to a whole new blank slate in the future to be able to create something if we have the right tools and we're willing to do the work. And that's one thing I really appreciate you asking people to do, is encouraging them and inviting them to do the work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for
I love it.
Yay. I love it. And so you'll get her contact information underneath the show, and reach out to her, be a part of one of the focus groups. Support this idea. And if you know people that are going through divorce, same thing is encourage them to go to mediation first. That's the first thing. Reach out to Laura. And you work in all 50 states. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay.
Just one last thing about this idea.
Yes.
Mediate early and mediate often. So I like to start with the mediation, set the tone, figure out what you need to hire your advocates for, because it's not going to be settled in mediation. And to a point where, okay, maybe try mediation again.
Yes.
Mediation is like life, right? You don't fail until you give up.
Yep.
So you can, the last thing a judge is always going to say to you is, okay, before I make a ruling, go have a settlement conference. Go to mediation. Every opportunity you get, just go in with a protected, but an open mind.
Yeah. So and anything's negotiable. Right. You do not want a judge to be the one that decides, your future. It's just someone that doesn't even know you, so it's better to work with a mediator. So I really, really appreciate your time today, and having you on. Thank you for having a heart of gold to stay in this space, because I just know it's not easy being a lawyer or a mediator dealing with high conflict. So thank you for everything that you do, Laura.
Well, thank you. Thank you for creating space and the amazing work that you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stay, hold on just 1 second. I'll just want to wrap up, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today on the Divorcing Strong podcast. And yet again, you can find us online and in all of the different platforms. The idea of this podcast is to help give you resources and people and stories to help you navigate your divorce strong. So thanks again. I'm your host, Becky Sampson of Divorcing Strong. Talk to you later.